Hello everybody, my name is Morgan Akins and this is my literature math lesson for the course Math in the 21st Century. This math lesson is for the kindergarten grade level. Here are the kindergarten content standards that we will be addressing with this lesson. We are going to be learning and understanding subtraction is taking apart and taking away from. And then we are also going to be using subtraction with objects. The objects that we are going to be using are the counting bears that a lot of kindergarten classes already have. The objective for this lesson is that students will be able to correctly perform simple subtraction equations that incorporate numbers 1 through 10 using counting bears independently when instructed to by their teacher. The materials that you're going to need for this lesson is the book Elevator Magic by Stuart J. Murphy, Counting Bears, and then you might need a computer and a projector if you do not have the Elevator Magic by Stuart J. Murphy book. You can also look that up on YouTube and you can show that on the projector for the students to listen to. So that, again, can be found on YouTube. And you would just project that on the whiteboard. The multiple intelligences addressed in this lesson would be bodily, as the students will be physically counting the bears when the instructor gives them the subtraction equations. Visual, the students will be looking at the book when the teacher is reading it, or will be viewing the book through YouTube on the whiteboard. And then verbal, students will be calling out their answers to the simple equations being presented by the teacher. Also, the technology that would be integrated in this lesson would be YouTube and a computer and a projector if the book is not readily available. And here are the strategies for diversified learners. So if you have any visually or hearing impaired students, you can move them to the front of the class so they can hear everything clearly and they can see everything clearly. And then, of course, modifications will be made for individual students to meet their individual needs. Okay, so we're going to start off the lesson by reading the book Elevator Magic to the students. Once the book is read, we're going to go ahead and ask the students what their favorite part of the book was, just to get them engaged. If it was illustrations, the character, anything that happened. And then after that, we're going to go ahead and ask the students if they've ever used subtraction before in their life, or where they may have seen this being used and why that might be used. We're going to want to wait for their responses, and then we can have them elaborate on that. And then we'll also explain to the class that subtraction is the process of taking one number or an amount away from another number. The students' answer to the questions after reading the book will help the teacher gauge their knowledge and understanding of subtraction. And now for the instructional input. So after we've read the book, we're going to go ahead and hold up our jar of counting bears, and we're going to go ahead and pick 10 counting bears out of the jar. And we're going to explain to the class that we want to share some of our counting bears with another student. So we're going to go ahead and ask for participants and go ahead and pick one that's nearby. And then once we have a participant, they can come up and stand next to you and then ask the class how many of the bears, of your bears, should they share with this student. So we'll go ahead and take some responses. An example might be 4. So we'll go ahead and count out 4 of our counting bears and give to that student. Then we'll go ahead and ask the class, how many bears does that leave us with, or leave me with? We'll go ahead and count those together. And after we've counted the remaining bears together out loud, we'll go ahead and ask if any of the students have any questions, and we'll go ahead and dismiss them to their desk. The students then at their desk will be working individually with their own counting bears. Once the students are at their desk, you'll go ahead and pass out 10 counting bears to each student. The instructor will then create 5 different subtraction scenarios with the numbers 1 through 10. The students will go ahead and use their counting bears to figure out the answer. Their final answer will be counted out loud with the class. The instructor will then walk around the class to view the students' progress and complete the grading rubric. This lesson will be graded by the students correctly answering 3 of the 5 equations presented to them. Thanks so much. I hope you enjoyed.